A lot of us talk a lot about China's relations to the world, but today we have a guest who's actually been instrumental in China's relations with the world. He helped Italy get into the Belt and Road Initiative years ago. Michele Geraci is a professor at NYU Shanghai and a prominent politician and economist from Italy. So let's jump right in. First question. Can you tell us more about how you were instrumental in Belt and Road in Italy?
We were at the point back in 2018 where Italy business with China was lagging that of France, Germany, UK, even Switzerland, even Ireland sells more food and beverages to China than Italy does. We don't have large companies. We don't have Siemens, BMW, Airbus, and so we thought we need to do something else to bring our Italian companies at par with the French and German competitors. So one way to do it was to engage at a higher level with China and show our interest in being part of the Belt and Road, which is something about Italy and China between us, but it's also between Italy and the other 150 countries in the Belt and Road. So we wanted to be part of this largest program that is about the development of infrastructure around the world, the biggest infrastructure program in mankind. Mm-hmm. So why not join? And by the way, also helping our companies to try to get some business in all these various projects. So for me, it was a very easy decision to make. I'm glad I managed to persuade the Prime Minister, the President of Italy as well, and all our members in cabinet that was indeed a good thing for our companies and show awareness that growth and opportunities were also, and maybe more so, in the global south, not just within Europe or United States, which we will, of course, continue to want to do business with, but not solely. We also need to, it's like keep the core business with our strong European partners, US, but also look at growth in other areas, and we needed to do early.
Can you tell us more about the details of the actual negotiations and the process that you went through?
Negotiation was interesting because it went on for several months. The output is the agreement, a memorandum of understanding, 7 pages of a document that I actually, together with the Italian ambassador and my colleague in government, we actually negotiated word by word to make sure also that the language was very close to our, let's say, European values. So we do have things like level playing field, reciprocity, climate, in line with the UN Charter. So I thought in this practical negotiation of the language, we also did a good service to the world in a way, to bring China to a different level of standards that is maybe what is more accepted by the so-called European international community. So in a way, our MOU was a first step that then we wanted to make available also to other countries. So setting a good starting point for other countries also to join. And indeed, days after, both Switzerland and Luxembourg also joined the Belt and Road on the back of our initial agreement.
And were the discussions before held within the European Union, or it was more like we go first and the rest then we'll see will follow or not?
We go first. So we wanted to be leader in this process. Every time we discuss with the European Union, we get into
trouble?
No trouble. Mud. The things don't get done, regulations, agreement, consensus, and stuff like that, which are good for certain things. But I remember we are in Europe partners, but competitors.
Yes.
One more bottle of Italian wine in China is one bottle less of French wine in China. So we did on purpose not engage with our European competitors, and we wanted to be first. And that was, in my view, one of the key selling points for our companies, to have Italy being leading this process. And therefore, when you are first, you get some credit with the Chinese counterpart.
Yeah. I can imagine that because it was the first European country who joined the initiative, And of course, China is very good at making very big strategic theoretical concepts. Europe are not used to that very much, but they have very big ideas and dreams. So I think from Chinese side, they must be very happy that you were the first European to sign up. I think, were these negotiations easy or was it more difficult? Because I think for them, there was an eagerness to get something done at that time.
It was easy in a way because China, of course, did appreciate that we were the first G7 country to sign it. There were other European countries, but smaller countries, all good countries, of course, but not large economies. And the fact that Italy is not just the G7, but a $2 trillion economy with a lot of skills in those areas that China needs, infrastructure development, construction, railway, signaling, stuff like that, agricultural machinery. It was not just a political statement, but also something that could have led to real practical cooperation between Chinese and Italian companies together to develop those regions of Asia and Africa.
So in your opinion, because Italy has pulled out now, last year I think it was.
Yes.
It was a political decision.
One of the worst decisions that my government could have made. It's completely boomerang.
So you answered my question already. So it was, in your opinion, a bad decision. Why was the decision being made, do you think?
I've asked directly the Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, their staff. No one has given me an answer. They just go round and round in circle to showing that they don't really understand what the Belt and Road is about, or they did take the decision lightly, without thinking, without doing the proper analysis, maybe dismissed it as if it was some kind of, yes, it's an agreement, we don't understand, let's stop it. They don't understand, you know, let me make this straight for people who listen. Italy exited, the Italian government, Meloni, exited the Belt and Road on the 10th anniversary of the launch of the project.
The 10th anniversary?
Yes, it was launched by Xi Jinping in 2013 in Kazakhstan, the University of Nazarbayev. And so 2023 is the 10th anniversary.
Okay.
Almost to the day, in November, my Prime Minister decided to exit on the 10th anniversary of a project that is one of the dearest projects to the President of China.
Yes.
And being the first and so far only country in the world to ever exit the Belt and Road. Let me ask you back, do you think that is a good idea, a good decision to do that?
It's a milestone for sure. I don't know if it's good or bad.
So I'm very worried because this will seriously impact the commercial relation between our two countries. And there, in Italy, they don't have this consciousness of how serious this is. And I give you also a Kafkaesque point, very surreal. A few weeks ago, the Minister of Trade of China was invited to a business forum in Italy to be told that Italy was going to exit the Belt and Road, the Silk Road. And he was invited in Venice, the city of Marco Polo. So Italy not only exited the Belt and Road, but Italy is the depository of the terminal of the Belt and Road for 2,000 years, from the Roman Empire, then into Marco Polo. So it's completely not easy to understand for the Chinese counterpart to say, you guys are the country of the Roman Empire, the country of Marco Polo, and you exit the Belt and Road. You don't want to be part of the new modern Silk Road. In addition to the political things that I mentioned before, that it's not a good idea to refuse something that is a positive opportunity for companies without any obligation.
When the government pulled out, you are living in Shanghai, you're a professor at university here. What did you have any feedback from, let's say, old friends you had in the Chinese government because of relations you had in the old days, or just Chinese people? They say, why is this? Was there any reaction at all from Chinese side that you are aware of?
I'm aware of the reaction from the Chinese side of why did you do it? Didn't understand it. And this was the result of the Italian government not really being able to articulate a logical answer for the exit. So, of course, there were stories in the media. We exited because the US asked the Italian government to exit. But I don't think that is true because I'll give you my personal experience. I was in government when I wanted Italy to join the Belt and Road, and the United States never told me, Michele, you must not enter the Belt and Road. Yeah, they were asking questions, a little bit of comments, so Michele explain it to us, but never they dare to tell me, a sovereign state, what we should do.
But that was in the days when, of course, US and China were still relatively okay.
No, this is 2019.
19, okay,
3
yes.
years of Trump tariff, 200%, 200 billion. So it was already in a trade war that really started in 2016 with Trump. So we were well into that. And yet the United States, I think out of respect for sovereignty of Italy, and maybe I would, if I may say, out of respect for the logical way that we approach the debate. So with numbers, Excel spreadsheet, I went to the White House to say, this is why we think Italy should join the Belt and Road. You know, at the beginning, they were like, oh, you probably should have told us before, but, we saw the numbers. Okay, we kind of understand it. Now, it's very hard for me to believe that me, as a simple Undersecretary of State, managed to fend off pressure from the United States and articulate the reason and have it accepted. They don't need to accept it, but they kind of nodded. And yet now my current Prime Minister does not manage to do the same, her being of a much stronger standing than I. So the Chinese probably would have preferred if Prime Minister of Italy had said, sorry, I need to exit because Washington wants me to do so.
Yes.
That would have been not completely acceptable, but a logical explanation.
Would be a good excuse.
It was a good excuse, and the Chinese would have said, okay, we understand that you are not a sovereign state, and you do what other countries tell you. Sorry, we understand. But not even that. So your question, how did the Chinese take it? They still don't know why we did it. In fact, no one knows. Not even my Prime Minister knows why we exited.
Well, that's a really interesting detail about how America deals with its allies. I want to take a step back, and the audience should know that you're a prominent politician in Italy as well, and a former candidate for prime minister, but also have been doing work in China, academic work, different universities here for many years as well. I'm really interested in how you're perceived in Europe. I mean, being a quote-unquote friend of China, doing research that argues China's case in many ways, like in the talk you gave for us 2 months ago. I mean, how does it feel? What kind of reactions do you get, and how do you deal with them?
It's a bit of a challenge because the quality of the debate in Europe is extremely low, both in the media, the general public, and in government. So the logic has left the arena and has been replaced by, the usual tweet, 30-second statement. So, of course, if you are knowledgeable about a country, about China, you are perceived as being pro-China, no? So people confuse knowledge with support. So when I say trying to help my companies, be careful that China is developing technology, semiconductor, faster than we think. Sanctions are not working. Huawei has 3-5 nanometers microchips from SMIC, and they will do faster than we think. For me, this is trying to warn our economic environment that we should change our industrial strategy. But some people say, oh, Michele, you are just singing the praises of China Communist Party.
Right.
I said, this is nothing about the Chinese Communist Party. This is an analysis. So I'm telling you, I'm warning you that China is doing better than we think, and it's a stronger competitor. No, it's but you do fall into the trap that you are perceived as being pro-China just because you say they're doing well. It's almost as if if you're a football coach and you AC Milan playing against a small team, and the coach of the small team says, hey guys, be careful because they have a good striker. What does it mean that that coach is pro AC Milan? No, he's just warning his team that they need to play in a way recognizing the opponent's ability.
Yeah.
So you're right, Francis. There's a mix between confusing knowledge or expertise or information with supporting it.
Yeah. But like in your talk for us, so you gave a talk talking about China's trade with the world and a lot of the trade deficits that the West has with China, you feel were, in your analysis, perhaps overstated through your analysis. I mean, how do people react to that? Do they think that you're just, talking about what the party wants? What are their specific reactions to that analysis?
The reaction to new analysis that show that, for example, Italy with China deficit is not as high as official stats suggest, because we do sell via intermediate countries, is something new to them. And also not easily accepted, because they want an excuse. They don't want the numbers to look good. They want the numbers to look bad, so that they have an excuse to blame China.
Right.
Because politically, it pays off these days, no?
Yeah.
With the low quality of debate and the capacity for the general population to absorb complex concepts, it's very easy for a random politician to say China is bad. And they could do it for any other country, but of course China is biggest, and so they do target China. They don't even know where China is, probably, but it just captured the imagination of people, this big country, big population, and so it does work for this public discourse. Completely unfounded fear. Some fears are correct, but most of those that people talk about are not real fears. So I even suggest, listen, if you want to take a complaint at China, do it for the things that are really helpful. For example, maybe equal access for our European companies into the Chinese market, that could do something about it. And China recognized that they need to open up more. The negative list needs to shrink. And China does every year, makes this easier for European companies. So these are the things we need to engage with. And these are the things that China would be happy to engage on, but not, topics just pull out of thin air.
So what do you think then are the things which are, let's say, the fears which are very much not funded at all in the Western world by China?
One is that China wants to military conquer Europe, which is, of course, first of all, it never happened, would never happen. We had the same with Russia. Russia wants to invade Portugal. It's completely, but that created a fear that Russia was not stopping Ukraine, but then after taking over Ukraine, they would go to Poland, and then it's completely out of the reality, But general people think, I have the Russian army in my city. So they are not, the general population is not expert in history or geopolitics,
Sure.
So a general fear would be this, that China wants to conquer, is becoming more aggressive, more assertive, that is colonizing Africa. You're from Belgium, so we probably shouldn't be mentioned stuff like that to our Chinese counterparts, given we Dutch, Italian, French, German.
You will get an answer back for sure. Yes, that's for sure. Yes.
It's or problems with even kind of semi-sensitive topic in the US, like for example forced labor in Xinjiang, in cotton fields. If I was an American member of government, I would not raise the issue of forced labor in cotton field, because Xinjiang is not Mississippi or Alabama. And so this completely, makes us really look stupid. Again, we attack China for things that we did wrong. Well, this is completely reverse logic.
I'm an advocate for the U.S. government bringing those things up, because the U.S. and China are in a very important strategic competition. But that also means that Europe shouldn't worry as much. America has much bigger stakes in this competition with China. A lot of your work has been dealing with how China is perhaps more benign than we might think, and dealing with China's globalization. Tell me more about the project you have about China's involvement with the world, not just BRI, but other aspects of Chinese involvement with the world.
We are looking, this is one research that we are doing at NYU, New York University, in cooperation with other universities, Boston University and others around the world. We are creating a mapping global China website, where we track not just the investment, so not just the Belt and Road initiatives, but also the trade relationship between China and other countries, also government visits to other countries to see how often Chinese ministers visit certain countries, and we do have a lot of frequency in Africa. The meetings between party and party, not just government to government, but party and party. We track the exchange of students, because I think this is very important. Me being a professor, I encourage this exchange, especially young people that are the future, that build the relationship based on, they can see with their own eyes. We're tracking many other initiatives, for example, the media reporting of China in each country. So we're doing analysis of what the German media, the French media say about China. So we understand many layers of China involvements abroad to build this kind of view of what China does, how it does it, and where it does it. And of course, we have a strong presence in Africa, but also in Southeast Asia and growing.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me this sudden fear of China over the last few years, I mean, how grounded can it be? Because China's involvement in the world is still quite extensive, and it can't go away so quickly. China in many ways is a status quo power, and it doesn't want to overturn the world.
No, but also China and India have, the two countries together, have represented 60 to 70% of world GDP from the birth of Jesus Christ until 1800, when British start to colonize India, and when the British then start colonize part of China. So until then, for almost 2,000 years, 1,800 years, China and India economies dominated the world. Then we had these 2 centuries of decline, and we had the Industrial Revolution in the UK, and then the rise of the United States. So the power of India and China diminished, and focus and relative strength shifted to Europe and the United States, to the West. So now we are seeing these, it's not emergence of China and India, it's the re-emergence to the place, like you say, where they've always been.
Yeah.
And so this is, for me as an economist, a reality, almost a mathematical necessity. It's unstoppable. It does not, we don't want to stop it, because I want a prosperous China, I want a prosperous India, I want a prosperous global South. I want Asia to develop, I want Africa to develop, because this is new market for my products, for my business. I don't want to be the biggest economy in the world. So the view here is different between being hegemonic, where you need to be bigger to be good, and the other people view is that the others should be bigger so that I have bigger customers. And this is a very smart way to accept and promote the growth of the global South.
But on the other hand, if you see that, for instance, there is probably some support from China towards Russia, which you were very sensitive thing, about things, and I don't know, but there's probably some support, they're neutral at least, which of course you're about an issue. There is probably some good relationship with Iran and China and maybe other countries, maybe Syria. It's kind of, from European perspective, I think Europe wants also a kind of modus vivendi with China. On the other hand, they think China's spitting in our face doing like this. They know how critical the Ukraine thing is for Europe. And still there, the Europeans will ask very clearly, China, please condemn that war, and they won't do it. So isn't that also a problem from Chinese side, to be honest?
It depends on the point of view. If Europe thinks that all countries in the world should say and do what the European Commission wants, then of course they will be very disappointed, because there is 150 countries in the world that don't really care what the European Commission says or thinks. China, just yesterday, the spokesman for Minister of Foreign Affairs has said the Ukrainian war is a crisis that you in Europe created, not us in Beijing. And you then solve it. Don't ask us to step in, take sides. China trades with Ukraine, iron and wheat. China trades with Russia, oil and other materials. So as far as China is concerned, they are 2 partners, both partners, and China continues to do business with both of them. Of course, it's easier to do business with Russia now than with Ukraine because it's the territory is military territory. But China said very clearly, this is not my problem. You created it, you solve it. So this is the angle. And of course, this does not sound acceptable in the eyes of the European Union. They would like 200 countries to do what they say. But we have to be also fair in recognizing that when there had been other wars around the world that had not been waged by China but by us in the West, we did not behave in the most ethical way either. And China continued to do business with us when we were invading other countries. I say we, the West, no? So China did not stop trading with the US when the US invaded Iraq or Syria, or we had the insurgent promotion in Libya and so on. China continued to do business with Europe, with the US, even if they knew that we had invaded other countries. Yes. So they say, why now? Because Russia invades another country, we should suddenly not do business with Russia. And by the way, it's not just China, it's even India that has bought from Russia 50 billion of oil.
Yes.
Going from 8 billion in 2021, now raised to 50 billion, so 6 times.
Yes.
And we try to bring this India that is supposed to be democracy, allies and so on, into not doing business with Russia. And of course, it's very silly to ask President Xi Jinping and President Narendra Modi to prioritize the interest of a small country in Europe, Ukraine, at the expenses of 2.8 billion people. Mm-hmm. Their job is to take care of those people, of their own citizens, not to solve problems created by others. But they do want the war to end. So they do prefer stability because it's about trade. So the war for China is a pain, but it's not a pain created by China. So China would like peace to happen as soon as possible so they can restart redoing business with Ukraine. And let me give you a prediction. The reconstruction of Ukraine will be done by China.
Yes, will it be, you think?
Yes. Well, who else can do it?
The Americans?
No.
And earn money from it?
Sorry?
The Americans and earn money from it?
Yes, but China is very good at doing infrastructure. The US is not. So if they really want to do it, they should ask at Chinese construction companies and railway company. And that would be a good outcome for the Ukrainian people themselves. Instead of dying for nothing now, just stop and move on.
So you made one prediction. We want one more. What's the future? What's the prognosis for EU-China relations going forward?
In June, we have new European election. So there will be a new commission. So finally, we get rid of this commission that has created, in my view, only problems for Europe and for European citizens, for European companies for the last 5 years, since 2019. So hopefully we get rid of all this group of people, including the President von der Leyen, who thought that the Russian army steals washing machine to replace microchips and put them on the missile. So this is what she says at the European Parliament. So this is the level of analysis and debate that we have at the European Parliament. So we get rid of these people, and hopefully we'll get a more rational commission that realizes all the things that we discussed today. That China is there, you need to engage it. It is, yes, a competitor. It is also an opportunity, like any country. I said Germany, for me, is an opportunity. It's also a competitor. So we need to shift the focus in seeing China not just as a competitor, that it is in part, but also as an opportunity. So we need a more balanced view. So that's my prediction, and I hope the European people understand this. So I'm running back to Italy soon to campaign during the election as part of my political party to actually stimulate, not just, I'm not running to be elected, but because democracy is not just voting, it's also engaging in the debate. So I want to bring democracy back to Europe and have people understand, engage, and analyze with a better level of information.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak for us. We wish your mission well and wish you the best of luck talking in Europe.
Thank you very much.